I wish that what I could tell you is that what I just saw was unbelievable and that I'm completely shocked. But anybody who's been watching boxing for any amount of time at all knows horrible decisions are a part of this sport that we love. That's not the first one I've seen, and unfortunately, it's not going to be the last. Lamont Roach won that fight. He was the better fighter tonight. He was the man who went in there and applied the pressure and backed Tank up, handled his power throughout the fight, even buzzed him a few times. I never saw Tank get caught that clean. Never saw Tank get caught with a right hand and knocked back the way that we saw tonight. He was punching to the body well. He was throwing combinations. He closed strong down the finish. I mean, think about the fact you could look at this. How many rounds did Roach win? At least 7. At least 7. I'm gonna be gracious in giving Tank 5 rounds. But on top of those 7 rounds that we saw Lamont Roach win, what about the knockdown, man? What about that knockdown? You're gonna sit here and tell me that Tank is allowed to take a knee after getting hit. He takes a knee, then goes over to the corner, sticks his head in between the ropes, and his team is able to wipe his face with a towel, and we're just supposed to pretend like that's all in the rules, like that's all good, like that's all just a part of how the game goes? This was egregious. This was the ref dropping the ball in a way that I haven't seen in a long time. And don't get me wrong, I've always liked Steve Willis. The man's been doing his job for a long time, and he's been doing it at a high level. But when I look back at this fight tonight, the only thing I can think is, what was going on there? What was this man thinking? And then on top of it, we know that Tank was the A side. We know that Tank was the draw. We know that Tank is the big fan favorite. He's the guy. If Lamont Roach wasn't on any pay-per-views before this one as a main event. We've seen Tank on the pay-per-views before. So we know how the sport of boxing is. We can look and talk about the egregious, unfair behavior. We can look at the special treatment. We've seen all of these things in the past. It's been talked about time and time again. But when you look at the history of the sport and all the things that we've seen, and then you look at what we just saw tonight, how can we not shake our head in disgust? That was a great performance by Lamont Roach, given everything being considered. Right? I'm not trying to say that he went out there and dominated the fight from start to finish. Not at all. Tank definitely had his moments. I like the way that he was landing that left hand to the body at times. That thing was on a hair trigger, the way that he was countering Roach's right hand. But he did not win that fight. And Lamont Roach got robbed. There's really nothing else that I can truly say that's going to capture the essence of what we saw from that. I didn't think that Roach was going to be able to back Tank up, and he did. I thought that when they got inside, Roach wasn't going to be strong enough. I thought Tank was going to be able to walk him back and start to get that left hand off. I didn't think that the Philly shell was going to be able to really be a solid defense against Tank's left hand. He proved all of that wrong. And even when Tank did catch him, he was able to eat those shots. Roach didn't look like he was hurting there for 1 minute. He gave better than he got. What more do you want from the man? And oh, by the way, he came up from 130 pounds. All in the lead up to this fight, we were talking about, why is Tank pulling up somebody from 130? Why is somebody who considers himself the best in the sport, he's this huge draw, everybody looks at him as being a pound for pound type guy, why is he bringing people up from 130? Why isn't he fighting guys in his weight class, or why isn't he moving up? We've all seen him fight the bigger guys before in the rehydration clauses and everything else. Now it makes me think. Now it really makes me think and wonder. What if Rolly Romero was right? Rolly Romero came out and he said, yeah, Tank punches hard, but those guys that he's punching are weight drained. Those guys that he's punching are compromised. Now all of a sudden we see Lamont Roach come up from 130. You know he was fully hydrated. You know he was feeling good. You know he was feeling strong. He ate those shots. What's that saying? Was this a situation where people are going to look and say, Tank wasn't focused? Maybe he wasn't. But that doesn't take away anything from what we saw from Lamont Roach. I love the counter right hands. I love the body punching. I love the combinations. Those angles that he was taking when he was in tight. And Gervonta would come in and try to get that left hand off, and he would take an angle and then be able to counter with the right of his own. That's great stuff. The fact that he never backed down, the fact that he never gave up, even when Tank was trying to get that left hand off, Tank was trying to draw him into a dogfight by talking crazy to him during the fight. All of those things, he overcame all of that, kept his distance, kept his poise, did what he wanted to do, stayed patient, but still came with it when he needed to. Closed strong down the stretch. I think you can make the argument that he won the last 3 rounds, 10, 11, and 12. How many times have we seen something like that against Gervonta Davis? How many times have we seen a fight even this close? I don't think we've ever seen a fight before where people left, or people, as the 12th round ended, people really truly thought that it was a really close fight or the Tank lost the fight. This was a new one, man. This was a new one. Now, should we get a rematch on this one? Yeah, we should get a rematch, but we should be getting a rematch where Lamont Roach is coming into the ring with the 135-pound strap. Instead, we're talking about potentially getting a rematch on this one where Gervonta Davis is still the champion. I don't even know if we're going to get that. I know that that's what Gervonta Davis said in the ring. I know that that's what Lamont Roach said that he wants in the ring. But once all the business people get involved and once the teams start talking, all of a sudden this fight may just disappear. All of a sudden there's going to be all kinds of reasons why this isn't the one that happened. Gervonta Davis is going to come out a couple months from now and say something to the effect of, it was a really good fight. He had his chance. It ended up being a draw. But now we're on to bigger and better things, and everybody wants to see me fight, Shakur Stevenson, and that's the one we're going to get. Don't get me wrong. That's a fight that I'd love to see just as much as anybody else. But Gervonta Davis should have left that ring with an L on his record tonight. I didn't think it was going to happen. I made a video predicting this one, and I said Lamont Roach is likely to get stopped in the middle rounds. Gervonta Davis does everything better. He's faster. He's stronger. He's got a better ring IQ. He's got more experience in these big fights, which plays a lot because sometimes the lights can just get a little bit too bright from guys and they get tense. They don't quite feel right in there. They're not able to get going. And then all of a sudden, Gervonta Davis drops that left-handed hammer on him. And all of a sudden, everything changes right before your lights go out. We've seen that happen before. That isn't what we saw tonight. I hate it when you see a man get robbed. And I hate it even more when you think that robbery happened because of favoritism. Not just because it was an off night for the judges. Not just because it was really close and you saw it one way, but it should have went another. Gervonta Davis was a 25-1 favorite coming into this one. He was the A side. He was the pay-per-view draw. And we saw him get a gift decision. Like I said, if you've been watching boxing, you're not brand new to this. You have seen bad decisions before. You have seen fights that guys went in there and lost. But somehow they came out with the W. Somehow they kept their undefeated record intact and they got another victory. And I think that's what we saw tonight. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch this one again, break it down a little bit. Really try to truly analyze it. The fight just ended, but, let me know what you guys think. What did you see from this one? And what was up with that knockdown, man? What was up with that knockdown? How do they get away without calling that one? Bad move. Cost Lamont Roach something he worked months for. It cost him something he worked his whole life for in the sense that this would have been the biggest fight and the biggest win. Yeah, I get it. He's been a world champion already. He's still holding the strap at 130 pounds. But what he would have got if he would have won this fight would have been miles above what he's earned in the past. And that man went out there and he should have got that. They took it from him. Let me know what you guys think.